Hey everybody, it's Kim and I'm here today with my spoiler-filled book discussion of A Madness So Discrete by Mindy McGinnis. So on Goodreads, I gave this book 3 stars, and I will link my written review for this book in the description below. So initially, I had really high hopes for this book. It was my Owl Crate book of the month I got in my monthly book subscription, and it was for the theme of the month was spooky, and it just really disappointed me that this book was advertised and marketed to me as it was going to be scary, that it was going to be, spooky. It came in my spooky package. I was expecting a spooky book. This book was not spooky at all. I've read some spooky books. They keep me up at night. I enjoy it. Oddly enough. It's really weird. I shouldn't enjoy books that keep me up at night, but I do. I also had really high hopes because the synopsis on the inside flap sounded like a really unique and interesting idea. So I was really excited to read this book, and I must say, overall, I was actually pretty let down by this book. So this book starts off with our main character, Grace, and Grace is in an insane asylum. She's been placed there by her family because she is pregnant, and while she is at the insane asylum, she refuses to talk. She can talk, but she refuses to use her voice to communicate anything with anybody. However, during a violent outburst, she's sentenced to the cellars of the asylum, where it's very dark and damp and gross, and she's put there because they don't want to deal with her and they don't want other people coming to the asylum to see her. So they banish Grace to the cellars, and in the cellars is where she slowly learns to start talking to people again, and she meets a doctor and is quickly recognized to be possibly very useful because she is really, really good at remembering details from a scene, pays just extremely good attention to everything, and has a very good memory. And so the doctor she meets while down in the cellar concocts a plan to get her out of the insane asylum that she is currently in, because it is a very violent and not very humane place, and so they concoct a plan, they get her out of the insane asylum, and she becomes his assistant in helping him investigate, murder cases. So she's helping him to look for a murderer using deductive reasoning and her really good memory skills when she surveys the crime scene. So one complaint about this book right off the bat, and I just kind of realized it now looking at the inside flap, all the interesting parts, except for one, are on the inside flap. So it's kind of like when you go to see a funny movie and they showed all the funny parts in the previews, and you're like, wow, that movie wasn't very good because I already knew all the cool things that were going to happen. That was kind of like this book. So the best part of this book was definitely the characters. Grace, who is our main character, was incredibly witty and intelligent and really good to read about, and it was really good to read about her perspective. And it also had a really good cast of side characters who were funny, so they added a little bit of humor to the story, which was much appreciated, but they were also well-rounded characters. They were very distinct, they weren't all the same, they had different personalities. It was really nice, and I really love it when a book has excellent characters, and this book did that quite well. I just feel like they could have gone so many places with so many fantastic characters, and they just didn't. However, one thing that really bothered me about the characters was the fact that we were just supposed to accept the fact that Falstead. I get them mixed up. I don't know why. Falstead could smell things about people, which was really weird. And Lizzie had string, and it's never really, I don't know, maybe it is explained and I just didn't pick up on it, but it's not really explained how he can smell things about people, and it's not really explained whether or not Lizzie actually has something telling her things, or is she just eavesdropping? It's kind of hinted at in the book, but it's not really explained, and I didn't really like that. I don't always like it when people are just like, here's the information and you're gonna accept it. We're not gonna give you any explanation for it, just accept that. And that really bothered me about this book because I wanted to know. They didn't tell me. So this book also introduces a lot of really interesting science and psychology and the history of psychology, which I thought was really unique and something you don't see very often, especially in young adult books. So I found that very refreshing, and it could have gone somewhere really good. but it didn't. And there was also the constant debate or conversations going on between Thornhollow and Grace about what it really means to be mad. And at first, those conversations, I thought, were super insightful and, really interesting, and they really added a lot to the book. But then as the book went on, it just kind of felt like they kept having the same conversation again and again and again. And so after a while, it definitely got a little old. And one of the main, plot points in this book is their investigations of the murders that are going on in their town. And personally, I didn't find the murder investigations to be all that exciting. I wasn't invested in any of the murdered characters. I wasn't invested in finding out who the murderer was. I just really felt like it was bland. It added nothing to the story. I felt like it added nothing to the story, and we could have went a completely different way with the plot, and it would have been a lot better. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the murder mysteries, and I really felt like, sadly, because it was such a big chunk of this book, it could have done without it, which made this book a little hard for me to get through, because I didn't enjoy the main plot point. Another thing that kind of ties in with the murder mystery plot point is when Grace kills the murderer. That was just kind of glossed over. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but personally, I feel like when a character kills somebody, it kind of has an impact on them, as it would everybody. It impacts your ability to function in a daily situation, and it would impact your mental state. It would have a big impact on you, and that is just she's just oh, I didn't feel anything, and they just gloss right over it. And I feel like the only reason it was included was so they had a convenient way to frame her dad in the end. Don't get me wrong, I am so unbelievably happy with the fact that they were able to frame her dad in the end, but I just feel like her killing the murderer was a plot convenience, not something that really made logical sense to the plot, in my opinion. So regardless of me not really enjoying the middle portions or the murder investigations all that much, I was really satisfied with the ending of this book, minus a couple things, but the overall ending was incredibly satisfying. I was really, really happy that they were able to put Grace's dad away where he could no longer hurt anybody else, including her or her sister, and I really liked the confrontation scene where she's like, "Bye, Dad! Have fun at the insane asylum that you sent me to," and they weren't very nice. So I really liked that. I just felt like getting her dad behind bars or into some sort of a mental institute should have been more the main focus of this book. I feel like it would have added a lot more to the story and been it would have been more emotionally investing for me to read about this character's journey to conquest over the person who held so much power over her before. I feel like that would have been just a really strong plot, and that the murder investigations just were kind of useless. So all in all, this book was pretty good. It definitely wasn't the worst book I've ever read, and it's definitely not even close to one of the best books I have ever read. Even close. The characters were excellent. The ending was satisfying, however, I just found that the plot was a little unorganized, unengrossing, and all over the place. And that's the end of my review, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and let me know down below if you've read this book and what you thought about it, because I love talking and debating things with people. It's fun. So comment down below if you've read this book. So that's everything, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.